What's up YouTube, Darren Zephyr Wargames, bringing you the original hand trap deck, and that is Magical Musketts. Now of course Magical Musketts allow you to play their spells and traps from your hand during your opponent's turn, as long as you control a magical musket monster, and then monsters get additional effects off every time you activate spells and traps in their columns. Not just you, but of course your opponent as well. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through the deck profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it. Now of course you play triple Magical Musketeer Caspar, of course incredibly powerful card, the main core card. When a spell or trap is activated in its column, you add a Magical Musket card from your deck to your hand, but not a card with the same name as the one you've activated. So it can search out any of your spells and traps, and of course your monsters. We've then got triple Magical Musketeer Starfire. Now, if you play Pot of Duality, I'd probably play her at 2. The reason I don't play Pot of Duality is because the whole game plan behind this deck is Ties of the Brethren. If you don't Ties of the Brethren, you need to get double summon. You need more than one Magical Musket monster on board in order to use and abuse their effects. Now, having Starfire on board is also very, very important, and you kind of want to see her first turn, if not Caspar and Ties of the Brethren. On top of that, if a spell or trap is activated in this card's column, you special summon a level 4 or lower magical musket monster from your deck. That's why it's so important, is because you normal summon Starfire, activate a spell or trap below her, and then of course you bring out Caspar. You then activate something in Caspar's, let's say Ties of the Brethren, you get out Doc, you get out Kid Brave, you then get a search, a draw, and a revival. So it's all very, very important. We then play 2 Kid Brave. Again, if you're playing Pot of Duality, you can probably bump this guy up to 3. The reason I'm only playing him at 2 is because without Pot of Duality, you don't have a lot that you want to discard. Like, you want to be able to maintain your spell and trap hand advantage as much as possible. Now, you don't have to. You can use more than one spell and trap a turn from your hand. Magical Musket spell and trap from your hand, of course. But you won't get its full effect because obviously you can only use it in the column once to gain the effect. So even your opponent can bait out your monster if you want to use its effect. We've then got 2 Magical Musket Dock. You get to add a Magical Musket card from your graveyard to your hand, but not a card that was activated in its column. We've then got 1 Calamity. This one lets you special summon from the grave, which is quite important as well for recyclability. That's probably part of that argument why you can drop Starfire down. She's also the other part of the Ties of the Brethren with Starfire. Not that you would ever really do that, but alongside Magical Musketeer Wild, which is basically a D'Augusto Emerald for the deck. Again, these 2 are the level 4 Ties targets, but like I said, it's very rare that you would actually do that. Non-musket monsters, we've got triple Ash Blossom because it is the most staple hand trap in this game right now, and if you don't go first, you do need to have as much ability as possible to stun and stall your opponent to then go off next turn. Next up for the spells, I do play the Toon Table of Contents and Toon World Engine. Now, this can easily be taken out. This is just down to personal preference. I'm not 100% sure set on it as of yet. Alternatively, you can play Twin Twisters, and then, like I said, you can play your Pot of Dualities, your Pot of Desires, pretty much anything you want to. This is just ability to deck thin and always have a spell in hand that I know I can activate going first and or second to kind of help my Magical Muskets move forward and play it multiple times. Again, like I said, this is just an alternate option to Pot of Duality and Pot of Desires, so an easy swap out if you want to play with those. We've then, of course, got triple Ties of the Brethren. Very, very important card. You hit this on Caspar, Doc, or Kid Brave, you're getting the other 2 combo pieces that you need to then extend your board even further. Triple Magical Musket Cross Domination. This is basically your effect Veiler, and then it also reduces the monster's attack to 0, so it's very, very important. We've got 2 Steady Hands. You can play Steady Hands at 1 if you want, but you get to target a Magical Musket monster. You control its attack and defense become double its original attack and defense until the end of the turn. It cannot attack directly during the turn you activate this card. So it basically allows you to deal with bigger beat monsters should you need to, or of course protect yourself against bigger beat monsters. We've then got 2 Double Summon. Again, this is very, very important because if you don't open up with the ability of getting another Magical Musket on board, playing this under Caspar can then let you search out the next piece and then you normal summon an additional one. Always having more than one Magical Musket card on board is kind of the ideal scenario, which is why the deck hasn't really flourished as much, because it's a little bit harder to flood the board with them so much as easily, but it can be done. Like if you imagine Starfire into Caspar into Ties of the Brethren, you know, you're going to be going on for days and searching, and then if you've got 4 spells and traps in your hand, you've got 4 effects that you can play during your opponent's turn. Starfire will then give you another magical musket on board, Caspar will give you another search, Doc will give you a revival, and Kid Brave will give you a drop and draw 2. So you've got the full board there. We've then got 2 Call by the Grave. Obviously you want your ties to be resolving, and then playing this in a column under one of your monsters will also give it its the effect, and it kind of deals with Ash Blossoms, which is very, very easy. And then the one Monster Reborn, because, you know, like I said, if you only get Kid Brave on board, if you activate a spell in its column, pitch a monster, draw 2 cards, and then you can Monster Reborn, revive it, and then play even further. And then the trap cards, we've got triple Last Stand. This is awesome because it deals with Red Reboot, it deals with Strike, it deals with Warning, because it is a spell speed free. So when your opponent activates a spell trap card while you control a magical musket, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Most powerful trap card in this deck. Alongside Desperado. Desperado is also very, very disruptive because if you control a magical musket, you target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. So this is very, very important because it can deal with your opponent's spells, traps, monsters, anything that can kind of cause you issues. And then we've got 2 Magical Musket Dancing Needle. This is more for this format. If you control a Magical Musket, you target up to 3 cards in the graveyards and banish them. So you hit your opponent's Sky Strikers, you hit your opponent's Autogeist, you can hit your opponent's Gokis if they want to be activating Goku Rematch. So they activate Goku Rematch, I'm pretty sure Goku Rematch targets. If not, when they search Goku Rematch, you then activate Dancing Needle. You can banish the Phoenix Blade as well and move your plays further forward that way. And then finally, the one Magical Musket Fiendish Deal. This is very, very nice to chain to Ghost Ogre because then, of course, it can protect your monsters from being destroyed by card effect. And then you can pop it off yourself if you want to, or let your opponent pop it and you get an additional search. So it's not a staple in the deck, but right now it can be very, very helpful to keep your Magical Muskets on board. Now onto the extra deck. For the Link 4s, we've got the Saruja and the Borreload. These can be Reaper targets if you want. There's a lot of space in the extra deck that you can play around with, so it's entirely up to you. You've got the one Decode and the one Trispania. You've got the one Phoenix, Cerberus, and Goblin. Goblin's additional normal summon can be very, very important, and it's easily made off of an Acatic Magician, because the Acatic Magician, if you make Acatic Magician with 2 of your monsters, bounce one that it points to, you then get to make, normal summon that monster again, should you need to in general, get its effect off, and then link into a Nightmare Goblin and give you an additional normal. So it lets you extend your board that bit further. And then we've got the one Underclock Taker to finish off our Link monsters. So that was Underclock Taker. Now we're moving on to the XYZs. We've got the one Abyss Dweller, the one Tornado Dragon, and the one Bagooska. Very rare that you have the ability to go into rank 4s as easy as you think, but if you are going to go into any rank 4s, you might as well have the staples ready to go where need be. And then for the rank 3s that you'll probably go into more often than not, we've got the Mecha Quick Angerneer, the Super Quantum Mech Beast, and the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. Now again, you don't have to go into these. Breaksword obviously combos off nicely with Fiendish Deal, but of course Fiendish Deal needs to be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. It just gives you an easy fodder card to pop. On top of that, you can play any other rank 3 like Acid Golem, and Wind Up Zen Myers. Any kind of cards like that you want to play, you can of course do so. Like I said, the extra deck is entirely open. It's very rare that you go into some of these cards. The majority of the time you'll probably go into Breaksword, Bagooska, or then flourish through your Link monsters, which again are entirely up to your personal opinion and personal choices on some of these. But it's still a very, very fun deck to play. I know it's not toppling the meta, but I really, really enjoyed it when it first came out. It was a fun kind of concept. Really did take hand trap literally. And it can be very, very disruptive. It just lacks in its consistency to really dominate the meta or the game as it stands right now. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. And until next time, guys, as always, happy dueling.